It began with a single text message. 4 words, quiet but final. It is finished. He's gone. No follow-up, no context, just silence. And within minutes, that silence turned into shockwaves, reverberating not only through the inner circle of the Anoaʻi dynasty, but across the entire wrestling world. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the heartbeat of WWE's most dominant era, was gone. Not confirmed dead. Not medically cleared. Not publicly released. Just gone. And with him, something sacred had vanished. Something ancient. Something untouchable. The Anoaʻi family had known war. They had survived betrayals, exiles, and battles that spanned generations. But nothing prepared them for this. For the sudden, unexplained disappearance of the man who had become more than just a wrestler. He was their standard-bearer. Their protector. Their myth. And now he was missing. Backstage at WWE SmackDown last Friday, something was off from the start. Paul Heyman, Roman's ever-faithful advisor, was seen pacing for hours. No camera crews, no Bloodline promo, no locker room ritual. When asked about Roman's whereabouts, Heyman mumbled something about a private matter and refused to make eye contact. That night, Roman's music never hit. His name wasn't mentioned. There was no graphic. No explanation. Just a void. But the whispers had already begun. In the locker rooms, in catering, in the silence of production trucks, people talked. Some said Roman had collapsed at home. Others claimed there was a phone call between Triple H and a panicked member of Roman's security team. And a few, just a few, insisted that Roman had been transported from a private residence in Florida under a false name, surrounded by armed bodyguards and WWE's top medical personnel. But nobody knew for sure. The next morning, the Anoaʻi family released a cryptic statement through a private attorney. No WWE branding. No fanfare. We ask for prayers during this time of immense pain. A beloved member of our family has departed from us in spirit, and we are grieving deeply. We will not be offering further comments at this time. It didn't name Roman. It didn't have to. The world reacted with confusion. Fans demanded answers. Journalists scrambled for quotes. And yet, WWE stayed silent. Their website had no update. Monday Night Raw opened without a word. Even Michael Cole, always the voice of authority, didn't mention Roman's absence once. Behind closed doors, however, a different story was unfolding. According to an internal WWE memo leaked by an anonymous source, Roman Reigns was last seen by company officials 3 days before his scheduled SmackDown return. A wellness team, assigned to routine athlete check-ins, arrived at his Orlando compound only to be denied entry. Moments later, Roman's cousin, unidentified in the memo, emerged visibly distressed, clutching a phone and speaking in hushed tones. What followed was a frantic 17-minute phone call between Paul Heyman and WWE CEO Nick Khan. The memo concluded with one chilling line. Roman Reigns is no longer in communication with WWE personnel. That line sent shock through the company's headquarters. Why would Roman, known for his meticulous control over appearances and loyalty to the business, vanish without a word? Back in the locker room, Solo Sikoa stood uncharacteristically still. Normally fierce, intense, aggressive, he didn't speak. Didn't warm up. Didn't even wrestle. Jacob Fatu, who had only recently declared allegiance to Roman, was reportedly escorted out of a production meeting after demanding to know why the company refused to address Roman's absence. Even Jimmy Uso, still estranged from the Bloodline's inner core, was said to have broken down in the hallway of the hotel that night, calling an old contact at the performance center and whispering just 3 words. He's not okay. What followed was a digital storm. Reddit threads exploded with theories. Was it burnout? A health scare? A personal betrayal? Or something far worse, something the company couldn't yet face? 2 days later, a second statement was released, not by WWE, but by Afa and Sika's foundation. It was short, reverent, devastating. To the millions who have stood with our legacy, the one who carried our crown has stepped away. We mourn not only a man, but a spirit that led our family through fire. Please allow us this silence as we lay him to peace. Again, no name. Again, no confirmation. But this time it was clear. Roman Reigns, as we knew him, was gone. The locker room changed overnight. Seth Rollins cancelled an autograph session. Rhea Ripley, seen as one of Roman's few respected peers, posted a blacked-out image with only one word, Chief. Even Vince McMahon, who had remained mostly invisible since stepping down from operations, was rumored to have made a private call to Sika Anoaʻi himself, asking only one question. Was it something we did? The answer, nobody knows. But rumors began to crystallize into something darker. Whispers of a long-hidden illness. Of a condition Roman had battled in secret. Of a recent flare-up that caused blackouts, memory lapses, and emotional breakdowns. It had always been whispered that his past battles with leukemia had left invisible scars. But what if there was something else? Something psychological. Something spiritual. Inside the WWE creative team, plans involving the Bloodline were halted. Scripts rewritten. Entire pay-per-view main events scrapped. WrestleMania plans thrown into chaos. One producer was overheard saying, "If he's really done, there is no next chapter. We built the company around a ghost." And still, no one said his name. Until Paul Heyman. In a rare backstage leak from a Zoom meeting involving top-level WWE creatives, Heyman, visibly shaken, according to sources, finally broke down. When asked what to do with the Bloodline storyline moving forward, he reportedly said, "You don't understand. We didn't just lose a character. We lost him. And I don't know if he's coming back. I don't know if he can." Those words stunned the room. This wasn't wrestling anymore. This wasn't storyline. This wasn't kayfabe. This was grief. This was mourning. And so, on the next episode of SmackDown, for the first time in over a decade, the show opened not with pyro or theme music, but with a black screen. No commentary. No graphics. Just silence. For 21 seconds. Then the camera faded into an empty ring. A single chair placed at the center. Draped in a traditional Samoan tribal sash. No nameplate. No announcement. And then, slowly, the lights dimmed. Backstage, every Anoaʻi relative in the company, Zilla Fatu, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Jimmy Uso, gathered in black. No microphones. No storyline. Just stillness. As the screen faded again to black, one final message appeared. In honor of the one who led. Who built. Who bled. The table stands empty. The head is missing. The era has ended. Speculation reignited. Was this the company saying goodbye? Or merely stalling? Fans began trending hashtags like #ReturnOfTheChief and #BringRomanHome, refusing to accept the possibility that their tribal chief might never reappear. But inside the Anoaʻi family, the pain was real. Confidential sources close to the family revealed that Roman's last contact came through a handwritten letter, sent by courier, not email. It contained no date. No address. Just a message to be read aloud only in the presence of blood. That letter, according to insiders, read, "I gave everything to the name. To the throne. But I forgot who I was when the camera stopped. I'm tired. I'm broken. And I'm free now. Take care of the family. Don't let the fire die. But don't come looking for me. It is finished." And just like that, he was gone. Roman Reigns. WWE's cornerstone. The Anoaʻi king. The tribal chief. Disappeared without a match. Without a send-off. Without a farewell promo or a 10-bell salute. But perhaps that's how kings exit. Not with a roar, but with silence. And now, as the wrestling world holds its breath, only one question remains. Is this the end of an era? Or the beginning of a myth? Because in the ashes of his reign, the echoes still linger. And the bloodline, fractured, grieving, and fatherless, must now decide whether to rebuild, or bury the empire he left behind. What followed Roman Reigns' disappearance wasn't just heartbreak, it was collapse. The bloodline, once the most fearsome force in professional wrestling, had become a kingdom without a crown. A dynasty with no leader. And at the center of it all stood Solo Sikoa, fists clenched, eyes hollow, rage buried beneath restraint. For weeks, he said nothing. Did nothing. But those who watched him closely could see it, the quiet storm rising. He had always played the role of the enforcer. The silent one. The warrior. But without Roman, Solo began to change. He missed appearances. Ignored travel itineraries. He began training in complete isolation, shutting out even his closest allies. According to an anonymous trainer at the WWE Performance Center, Solo destroyed 3 sparring partners in a single session, refusing to stop when the bell rang. He was grieving, the trainer said. But it didn't look like grief. It looked like war. Then came the message. 3 weeks after Roman's last known communication, Solo posted a single image to his private Instagram story. It was a blurred photo of the WWE Universal Championship, resting on an empty locker room bench. The caption? "If he's not coming back, then I take it from here." That post sent shockwaves through the bloodline's fractured remains. Jacob Fatu, loyal to Roman till the end, reportedly flew to Tampa that very night. Security footage, leaked 2 days later, showed the 2 cousins confronting one another in the parking lot of a training facility. No punches were thrown. But words were exchanged. Loud ones. Heated. The footage had no sound, but lip readers online quickly translated what appeared to be Jacob screaming. "You don't inherit the table just because it's empty." Solo responded with a nod, slow, methodical. Then he walked away. The family was splitting. And somewhere in the distance, Paul Heyman was watching it all crumble. Heyman, once the master architect behind Roman's rise, now found himself in the most unfamiliar of roles, powerless. Sources inside WWE's Stamford headquarters say he made multiple attempts to contact Roman. Letters. Phone calls. Messages delivered through third parties. All unanswered. He began to spiral. Those same sources revealed that Heyman approached Triple H privately, requesting to step down from his on-screen role. The reason? Out of respect for the silence. But Triple H refused. "You're not allowed to leave," he allegedly said. "Not until we know if this is a funeral or a resurrection." So Heyman stayed. But he was not the same. On SmackDown, he appeared for the first time since Roman's disappearance. No suit. No mic. Just Paul, walking to the ring with his head bowed. He didn't speak. He stood in silence for nearly 3 minutes before slowly raising a folded piece of paper. The camera zoomed in. It was Roman's final letter, the one written to the family. The audience read the words again. "I gave everything to the name. To the throne. But I forgot who I was. It is finished." And when Heyman finally looked into the camera, his voice cracked. "I don't know where he is. I don't know if he's coming back. But if he doesn't, then we don't deserve him. And if he does, God help whoever stands in his way." It was the most honest Paul Heyman had ever been. Meanwhile, WWE itself was in uncharted territory. For nearly 4 years, Roman Reigns had been the axis on which everything turned. WrestleMania main events. Pay-per-view ticket sales. Merchandise. Storylines. Title reigns. Ratings. And now, void. Nick Khan, in an emergency internal meeting, reportedly laid it bare to executives. We're not just missing a performer. We're missing our spine. The creative department scrambled. Multiple potential successors to the Bloodline throne were considered. Cody Rhodes. Seth Rollins. Even The Rock's name was floated. But none felt right. None could fill the space Roman had left behind. Because this wasn't just about a missing wrestler. This was about a man who had blurred the line between myth and reality so completely that even his disappearance felt scripted until it wasn't. In the weeks that followed, the Anoaʻi family continued to grieve privately. A memorial gathering, closed to media, was held in Pensacola. Tribal elders, including Afa and Sika, were flown in. Zilla Fatu gave a speech. Jimmy Uso wept uncontrollably. A candle was lit in Roman's honor, not because he was confirmed dead, but because the family believed they needed to accept that he might never return. In a private recording of that gathering, which later leaked to a trusted journalist, Afa's voice could be heard saying, "He carried more than any man should have. And still he walked tall. He gave his life to the name. That's why we must now protect it, even if it means protecting it from ourselves." That night, Solo Sikoa was not in attendance. Instead, he posted a chilling video, him standing alone at the head of the table, inside a training facility, staring into the camera. On the table? Roman's glove. No caption. The implication was loud and clear: Solo wasn't mourning anymore. He was preparing. The tribal throne had no heir. So he would claim it, not through ritual, not through vote, but through force. And that, WWE insiders believe, is when it all truly began to unravel. Because when Roman Reigns disappeared, he didn't just leave behind a family in pain, he left behind a battlefield. A crown with no king. And warriors ready to burn down the empire in the name of succession. Backstage, tensions escalated. Jacob Fatu refused to appear on SmackDown. Zilla Fatu, once considered Roman's most promising protégé, was reportedly seen meeting with former rivals. Even Sami Zayn was approached by Paul Heyman for guidance, a signal that desperation was replacing strategy. And still, no Roman. Not a call. Not a video. Not even a shadow in the rafters. Until one night, in the final seconds of an otherwise quiet SmackDown, a strange visual appeared on the Titantron, a burning table. No message. No branding. Just fire consuming wood, cloth, and tribal carvings. The crowd went silent. And then the screen cut to black. Was it a sign? A warning? Or a declaration? Had Roman Reigns, wherever he was, just burned down his own legacy? The questions multiply. The answers remain buried. But one thing is now certain: Roman Reigns may be absent, but his shadow grows larger by the day. And the longer he stays gone, the more unstable the empire becomes. Because this story doesn't end with an empty chair. It ends with what happens next. When the forgotten king either rises from the ashes, or is replaced by the very blood that once swore loyalty to him. Weeks turned into months, and with every silent sunrise, the myth of Roman Reigns grew. No confirmations. No denials. No footage. No cryptic promos or insider scoops. Just silence. But in the silence, chaos bred. Solo Sikoa, now emboldened by Roman's absence and his own inner storm, stepped fully into the vacuum. He didn't wait for approval. He didn't ask for permission. He took. On an unannounced SmackDown segment, Solo stormed the ring during Jacob Fatu's main event match, blindsiding him with a brutal Samoan spike, followed by 3 steel chair shots to the back. No music. No warning. Just vengeance. Just fury. Then he grabbed a mic. He didn't yell. He didn't perform. He just spoke, slowly, deliberately. You waited. You cried. You mourned. But I didn't. Because I never believed he was coming back. And now, I lead. The camera zoomed in. Sweat poured from his brow. His chest rose and fell like a war drum. In that moment, Solo Sikoa declared war on the entire Anoaʻi family. He walked to the timekeeper's area, grabbed Roman Reigns' old Universal Championship belt, the one still unsanctioned, unrecognized, but never truly retired, and held it over his head. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't boo. They just watched. Something about it felt wrong. Backstage, Paul Heyman watched the monitor in disbelief. He clutched his hands, shook his head. A nearby staffer tried to comfort him, but Heyman muttered only one sentence. He warned us this would happen if we let the wrong one believe he had the right. The bloodline was crumbling from the inside out. Jacob Fatu, despite his brutal ambush, refused to retaliate publicly. He vanished from WWE programming altogether. Rumors swirled that he returned to Samoa, retreating into a spiritual seclusion that's only spoken of in whispers, a pilgrimage reserved for warriors who've lost their purpose. When contacted for comment, Jacob's camp issued a one-line response. "We will speak only when the chief returns, no one else." Meanwhile, Zilla Fatu began wrestling dark matches, not under the Bloodline banner, but wearing new gear. On the back, stitched in bold crimson letters, "For him." Who him was, he didn't explain. But everyone knew. Back at WWE headquarters, executives were at a crossroads. Ratings were dipping. Merch sales were fractured. Half the fanbase demanded Roman's return, the other half called for his name to be retired like a sacred relic. Internally, the production team began developing a contingency. It was called Project Exodus. The idea? To build a new faction, not a Bloodline 2.0, but something entirely different. A force made of outcasts, rebels, and bitter exiles from Roman's shadow. Superstars who had been denied title shots, betrayed, or forgotten in the era of the chief. The goal was clear, to create a new threat big enough to erase Roman's ghost. But then something happened that no one expected. A leaked hospital report. Anonymous. Unconfirmed. But too detailed to ignore. It described a male patient, early 40s, Samoan American, former athlete, admitted to a private recovery facility in northern Alaska under an alias. The diagnosis? Complex PTSD, dissociative trauma, physical exhaustion, and severe anxiety collapse. Inside the file, one detail stood out. Patient refuses all mention of the name Roman Reigns. Responds only to birth name, Lady. The internet exploded. Could it be true? Had Roman Reigns, broken by the weight of an empire he built, retreated into the wilderness under his real name, Lady Joseph Anoaʻi, to finally escape the ghost he created? For years, he had carried the burden of the bloodline. The betrayals. The wars. The fans. The boos. The cheers. The scrutiny. The spotlight. The image of perfection. And when he walked away, no one truly asked what it cost him. Back in WWE, Solo Sikoa's grip on power intensified. He began referring to himself as the heir of violence. No longer the enforcer. No longer second to anyone. He formed a new faction, a brutal force of new blood and ruthless loyalty. Not the bloodline. Something darker. Something raw. They called it, the Ashes. Their message? What burned was weakness. What remains is war. Paul Heyman, now on the outside looking in, refused to align with Solo. In a chilling backstage interview, he simply said, "You can seize the throne. You can wear the crown. But you'll never be king if the kingdom doesn't kneel willingly." And then, on the anniversary of Roman's last appearance, WWE aired a tribute package. Footage spanning